Hello and welcome back to Live from Paris. It's time now for business news and William Edwards joins me for that. And William, we're going to start straight away with the markets opening up here in Europe this Friday.
Yeah, and things are generally opening down. Perhaps because yesterday the European Central Bank might have disappointed somewhat. Interest rates were kept at historic lows, but little else was done to help unemployment across the Eurozone that's over 10% at the moment. Let's just bring you up to date with a few big results out this morning on the European markets. Air France, they announced a first quarter loss of 368 million euros. Their sales are up 6%, but not enough to fight rising fuel costs. BNP Paribas, they are in profit. Their net profit rose 9.6%. They're cutting back as well on their Eurozone sovereign debt. Meanwhile, Royal Bank of Scotland tripled their first quarter loss to 1.87 billion euros. However, their operating profits are up, so they again are fighting with debts that they have there. Let's just take a look at how things closed in Asia as well. Similar story to the European markets, really. Shanghai was the exception there, but generally the markets across Asia did close down. Concerns that US jobs figures out later today will be disappointing.
Well, let's stay with the markets because we've been hearing about it for quite some time now. Investors getting quite excited. Facebook's IPO, their initial public offering on the markets, has now been confirmed it will be the biggest ever, or one of the biggest ever.
For an internet company, it's expected, certainly, yes. They've announced the share price. Their range is between $28 and $35 per share. What that means is that overall the company is going to be valued at up to $95 billion. It could, of course, after trading starts as well, push through that $100 billion mark. Now, when Google launched on the stock market back in 2004, that was valued at just $23 billion. So you could see the sort of expectation there for Facebook. It would be valued at around the same price as internet giants such as Amazon and Cisco Systems. Although there are worries, of course. Facebook did last week report its first drop in revenues between two quarters in 2 years. Now, it has got 900 million subscribers worldwide. That it does include number one positions in most Western countries when it comes to social networking, but it won't be able to break into China because of the web restrictions there. So there are worries about its future growth and where that will come from.
Okay, well, we're going to stay with the technology sector now because Samsung has launched a new version of what is currently the world's best-selling smartphone. While the Galaxy handset has stolen the top spot from Apple's iPhone, the South Korean firm still faces a number of challenges if it wants to stay at number one. Take a look.
It's Samsung's top-of-the-range smartphone, the one that has propelled the South Korean giant to the number one spot on the list of cell phone makers in the world.
I'm very excited to finally introduce the next Galaxy, the Galaxy S3.
The new device is slimmer, faster, has a bigger screen and a face recognition software. The built-in camera is also quicker, and the Galaxy S3 will allow you to watch videos and read your emails at the same time. Samsung smartphones are flying off shelves. Sales went up by 267% between the first quarter of 2011 and this year. A third of all smartphones sold in the world during the first quarter of 2012 were Samsung phones.
With this phone, they've put some bells and whistles on this, but I think the big problem is we just don't know what the competition is yet, because Apple surely has another iPhone around the corner, and that's when we'll find out how competitive this product is.
Samsung is number one this year in terms of sales, but Apple continues to set the standard with its iPhone 5 and iPad. Both companies together rake in 99% of profits on all cell phone sales. Outside the South Korean company, few can compete. Nokia failed to jump in the smartphone and tablet bandwagon early enough. The Finnish giant saw its profit drop by 90% over the last year. It's still the second largest cell phone maker in the world, but shareholders fear the company could never catch up.
Well, it doesn't look so good, but I think the main problem is this, that Nokia doesn't have.
Samsung, on the other hand, saw its net income jump by over 80% in the first quarter to some 3.3 billion euros.
Well, we're going to move on now to Argentina because there's been a rather controversial energy law there that's sailed through Congress.
Yeah, through the lower house, this is moves to requisition, it will expropriate the investments of Spanish energy firm Repsol. They have a $10.5 billion investment in YPF, an oil company in Argentina, and that is going to be now taken into state hands. Now, this government policy and similar policies to this have kept energy prices low in Argentina. So you can see these people, they're demonstrating outside Parliament, very pleased with the law when that was passed through, because they get low prices. But of course, there are worries, not least from Repsol itself and the Spanish government, because it hasn't been decided how much money is going to be paid in compensation. It's going to be decided by an Argentinian court rather than an independent company estimating the value. And of course, the worry is that in future, other companies might not be so willing to invest in Argentina.
Well, moving on again now to across the channel, because it's going to be a year of festivities in the UK. 2012, of course, sees both the Olympics in London and the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. So what better way to celebrate than with a glass of English sparkling wine? Our correspondent's been to visit a producer who's struggling to keep up with the demand.
French winemaker Didier Pierson inspects his vines, looking for signs of frost.
You can see it's green on the inside. It's all good.
The land is perfect for wide varieties, and yet this is not France. Pierson, who owns vineyards in Champagne, has extended his property to the south of England.
The undersoil's mainly chalk. It's very important for Chardonnay in particular, since it really likes chalk. In these conditions, we can make very fine wine.
Very fine sparkling wine. This is what the Ridgeview estate produces since 1994. And their success is only growing.
We've grown from a small enterprise of 24,000 bottles or so, and last year we bottled just under 250,000 bottles. We have a constant excess of demand over our ability to supply.
In this professional wine fair, sparkling wines are the clients' favorites. Even more so, as 2012 is a year rich in British festivities.
A lot of the wine trade are buying English wines to celebrate the Jubilee and the Olympics, and that has been a big message that we've been putting out too. Our logo this year says celebrate with English wine. We must in this year.
Until now, England hasn't been a big wine exporter, yet it hopes to increase its sales. Its sparkling winemakers are expected to produce 5 million bottles in 2015.
There we go, William. We must celebrate with English wine this year. Are you going to be pouring a glass, do you think?
I've tried some before. It's rather good. Our French colleagues have been very harsh about this report, I have to say.
On a serious note, it could be worrying for the French champagne makers. But there we are. Perhaps we'll have to try some here in France 24 to see what happens. But thanks very much indeed, William, for that look at today's business news. And that's just about it from us for now. But do stay tuned, because Rebecca Bowering will be here right after the weather with more news headlines. Bye for now.